unable, blah blah. This is what? This is boring. Delete.
Oh my god, I am so yes. How you guys doing, everyone? Welcome to the Friday Night Frenzy. I am Nick. Joining me as always is Master of Comics, Jared. How you doing, man?
It's Lord of Comics. Get the phrase right.
Whatever, you're still awesome. So we also got Chris here with us. How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going?
We got the Master of Ships, Nix.
Howdy.
And joining us, a very special guest. Like, oh my god, I can't believe we pulled this guy, Max Von Presley.
Oh gosh, no, dude, thank you so much for having me. No, don't ever feel like I am an honored, or special or anything. I'm just like you guys. I'm just a fan. So
Nick, I said the exact same thing when Max first came on my podcast. I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity right now.
no,
I mean, we kind of are. So
Well, he is an MVP. I mean,
Well, there you go.
I mean, yeah.
The name.
only in name only, but other than that, no. And the guys on Thinking Critical always joke that my name is that of like Victor Von Doom.
yeah,
Kind of
Yeah,
is. That's a good
so-
point.
Oh, so you're saying that they're gonna replace Kang with you in the next Marvel movie?
I would watch that.
No, because that would not go over well.
Because then it would
I mean,
actually be good. That's a problem.
It would actually make
Marvel-
sense.
well,
That's the
thank
thing.
you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So I started off this clip that I literally hastily made that because I don't know if you guys have heard, but like the Scott Pilgrim anime, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, just came out today, and they pulled a He-Man.
yeah, he took off.
He literally
took off.
Scott Pilgrim.
The
literally
Avengers
took off.
200'd him in a way. And by the way, Nix, that's for you.
If my pain wasn't enough.
So Max.
And all I gotta say is,
Mhm.
say to everyone is,
You didn't see that coming?
To explain the joke, Max. So that's Nix's least favorite comic. So every time she comes on the show, I like to bring that up randomly.
I see. Is that one of the most recent like Avengers? The Jason
No.
Aaron
That's the one with
Wait.
Ms. Marvel and her pregnancy.
Oh God,
Nix, please explain Avengers 200 to Matt.
Yes, that'd be
Yeah.
even funnier.
So it's a comic from like back in the day. They were celebrating their 200th issue. Instead of like giving the fans a good story, they decided to make Miss Marvel pregnant with this like
Her own
dude,
son.
Her own son.
Oh,
They had they were kind of sort of lovers, but he brainwashed her and then had her give birth to himself so that he could come into like reality.
right. Was that part of the Avengers annual? Because I do remember. I think it was Michael Golden who might have illustrated the Avengers Annual 6. It's like one of the. I think it's a key, but yeah, I thought there was like a similar tone or a similar storyline with Miss Marvel there, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've read the book.
Yeah, it's just so insane.
But
So
yeah, that's crazy.
So-
They had the other Avengers. They had beats on the Avengers, and they're all acting like this is totally normal. Like this is just something, Oh, she's pregnant. Oh, now her baby's a toddler. Oh, now her toddler's a full-grown man. In like a span of weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah,
they're
that's
making
wild.
Jokes about it. It's like, no.
Yeah, I could see how that would kind of how reading that would probably put you off of like that whole Avengers run. That'd probably
Yeah.
make anyone be a little like, wait, how did that work? So
yeah. So like getting back to the Scott Pilgrim stuff. So basically what they do is the whole entire marketing campaign. Scott Pilgrim, it's back. It's like a melding of the comic books and the movies. We got the movie cast back. Don't mind that Scott Pilgrim sounds like a sound alike, he sounds like his imitation Scott. No, the whole movie cast is back. They really pitches that, and then it comes out like Scott dies in the end of the first episode. The rest of it's about Ramona facing evil exes. Literally, this is Ramona's show, and I'm like, any enthusiasm I had is just gone.
It's the Tila show, Nick.
Yeah, they do this with everything now. It's all gone. Like we got to realize that the people in charge, they don't care anymore. Like it's all gone. It's all propaganda. Like all of it.
And here's oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say what's sad too is that you would feel like I feel like the people who probably produced this said we don't have any trust in Ramona carrying her own show, or we don't have any validation or agency that we think that she has to where she could carry her own show. So that's why we have to do the bait and switch, right? We have to call it Scott Pilgrim, even though we're going to have it go a different way. Because I'm sure, yeah.
And like they could have made this work. Like literally, like imagine they didn't like literally they pitched it says this is an alternate universe take. This is where Scott dies in the first one. This is a Ramona story. Like literally, if like people would have gotten pissed, but there would have at least been an honesty to it. Like they could have said guys like, hey, we want to do it because like I read some articles. Apparently, Brian Lee O'Malley doesn't like the negative depiction that Ramona has. If it is, then why did you write her as such a toxic girlfriend?
Yeah, all the characters are shit.
The whole point of Scott Pilgrim is that they're both toxic people. That's the whole entire point. Scott is not a good person. Scott is not a hero.
Nope.
He's at best an anti-hero.
Yeah, his negative.
Scott Pilgrim as the Punisher.
No,
like the whole entire point of Scott Pilgrim is he realizes he is a terrible person. Scott learns the power of self-respect. Like that's the whole entire part of the story.
Well, you remember at the end of the movie where he meets his evil clone, and his evil clone is a good guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going out for whatever afterwards." It's
ridiculous.
Well, you see,
when
here's
your
the
evil
thing,
clone
Nick.
is a good guy. You're the evil guy.
Here's the problem with your alternate reality idea. It's a good idea. Don't get me wrong, but nowadays, I think everyone's really tired of multiverse stuff. So just give us a simple story. I don't want to know. I don't want to have to track what's going on Earth 2.
No, I mean, this isn't even like a multiverse story. This is just simply just a different story. It's like a reboot of sorts. Where like you don't have crossover. Like multiverse is when you have the crossovers,
Is there a market though for that? Because like Ramona isn't like this is literally called Scott Pilgrim. Like it's not.
I mean, the thing you don't realize is a whole generation. They saw Ramona Flowers and they felt so empowered by a movie made in Hollywood. Sorry, I had to reference the song at some point. I had to.
Here's what we have to realize. And ironically enough, I got into a Twitter debate with someone about Superman, and the whole thing applies here. I said, what you have to understand about big studios, they're going for the general audience, not the fan. Because here's the thing, as passionate as we are about these IPs, we don't have enough. There's not enough of us to have, for these movies and properties to make the money that these studio execs want. So they have to dilute the product in order to give us the product. Now, why did they title it Scott Pilgrim and not like Ramona? Simple. Search engine optimization, Nick.
Yeah,
I mean, fair enough. But here's where they messed up. Okay. And this is actually going to be a segue into our main topic. So you're right. You were right, Jared. This was a perfect thing to start off with. Here's the thing. The Scott Pilgrim fan base is niche as it is. People love Scott Pilgrim, mostly the movie. And like in the comic fan base is even smaller. Mm-hmm. Yes, I made him get that for the review. I was so pissed at this. We're actually supposed to be doing a review of it for Comics Watch next week. I was actually thinking like scrapping it, but Jared convinced me otherwise.
No, because here's what we can do. We could go on rant in the episode like, here's what you had to do. Just follow the book. You couldn't even do. You had one job, and you couldn't do that.
But yeah, let me get to my point. I need to get to my point though. And the problem is, by doing it this way, you're alienating the very small fan base that this project would get. Like, yeah, an anime that blends the book and the movie, that's a good idea. But the way you're doing it, people are going to look at it like, oh wait, this isn't what movie I watched, and
Well, dude, here's the other thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I just wanted to add that like this is brand sabotage. This is what they're doing is they're like, no matter what, you're not going to win for this. And again, I think at this point when I've seen it like for the 100th time, it's got to be deliberate. You can't blame stupidity when it keeps happening. It's not a mistake. And I think what they're doing is sabotaging these properties because
let them burn. Let them burn.
Well, if they wanted to make a Ramona spinoff, okay, which I don't know if there's a market for it. Honestly, it's like an ancillary character. Like, look at what they did with Ender's Game. Okay, Bean. He was a spinoff character. They made Bean. They made Ender's Shadow or whatever. They didn't call it Ender's Game.
Book.
And also, to be fair, in the movie, they actually did they actually elevated Bean. If you watch the movie, Bean actually gets a little bit more screen time, which they didn't. Bean didn't overshadow him.
Nope.
I mean, if they made it now, Bean would have been a black girl and would have totally overshadowed Ender.
But that's how like you don't piss off your or you don't confuse. Like I'm not even thinking of the fans. I'm thinking of the people that walk in, the Joe Average that goes, "Oh, hey, it's Scott Pilgrim. I think I heard about that. Isn't that like a Michael Cera film or something? Wasn't there like a video game or a cartoon?" Oh, they sit down and all of a sudden it's this freaking chick thing talking about her fifis.
Well,
like nobody wants to see that. Like
it's Nick. There's another fantastic modern example of this that I had to review on Taladia's channel. And for the most of the weeks we were reviewing this episode to episode, we were pulling our hair outs out of cringe, was My Adventures with Superman. Because, and I put a tweet out about this and I said, there's a problem when the show called My Adventures with Superman that's marketed as a Superman show is about Lois Lane. And this is not just because I absolutely despise the character of
that
Lois
show
Lane
was
in general.
that show
by the way
designed to piss you off.
Well, no, actually, here's the thing. There was the show pissed me off. Everyone's reaction to it was awesome because they would talk about, oh, I hate Lois Lane. She's so toxic. And I'm like, these are my people. We're finally, I'm not alone anymore.
The Bumblebee suit on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it was I was like adrift on like a piece of plywood from a shipwreck. I finally hit land. I'm like, oh yes, kiss the ground.
Do you want to know the end result of where all this like whatever takes us? You want to know where it leads? Here.
Yes.
So this is where we're at right now. Captain Marvel, the sequel to Captain Marvel, $1 billion movie. It went from $1 billion movie to literally it literally beat the Hulk as the lowest opening. A movie that came out over 11
not
almost 15
only
years ago.
Not only does it have the lowest MCU opening, it beat the Flash for lowest MCU opening. The Flash,
dude, it's brand sabotage. Like all of like I was saying earlier, like they're doing this intention. Like what happens when all of our hobbies are destroyed? Like the normies laughed at all the nerds freaking out about comic books and shit, where they're like, dude, look at all those nerds, or oh, they're misogynists or they're racists or whatever. Let the nerds fight. I don't care. And then the shit started spoozing into professional sports. And I have friends that are like, I can't even watch football anymore.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Max.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think this is why a lot of folks like within video games right now are starting to get worried because now they're thinking about adapting video game, films or video game movies.
Yeah.
Same thing with us Warhammer fans. Like I'm a big Warhammer guy, and now we're hearing Amazon's got a hold of Warhammer. So it's like these things that start to pop up, and
there's no way Henry Cavill is going to let them.
I was about to say, Max, Henry Cavill's in charge of it. And by the way, Max, I will say one thing: we march from a crag.
Ooh, okay, I like it.
Max knows what you're talking about.
They'll fire him. They'll fire him or he'll quit.
Yeah. See, Amazon is just really weird. It's like Amazon does like the most wokish shit ever, but they also do the most anti-woke shit ever. Like this is a service that has both The Boys and Reacher. Like Reacher is like the most anti-woke shit ever, and like Invincible. Like while it has some of it, it's just weird. It's like it's very bipolar.
It's more natural. And then the thing is, speaking of video game adaptations, I got PTSD flashbacks to Halo because I was like,
there you go, yeah.
Max, I will. Halo is the other IP besides DC that I'm like. So the way you are with Warhammer, that's me with Halo. You should have seen week to week. By the way, fun fact. So my friend and I were watching it. He's just as big of a Halo fan as I am. We predicted from episode 1, as soon as Maquis shows up, that she was going to have sex with Chief. Predicted it from her first appearance, and then it was kind of funny. I videotaped it, my friend's reaction, and he was like, "I knew it."
I am well. First of all, my condolences. I'm
You
sorry
don't
for
like
your
Master
loss.
Cheeks? You don't like Master Cheeks?
I've gone through so much.
Master
No, it
Chief.
really is. It's like traumatizing, right? Because this stuff keeps happening, and it's like,
Yep.
okay, so it's not you play the game of like stupid or evil, right? Are these are the people that are ruining a lot of these franchises? Are they stupid or are they intentionally trying to do this? And I think
Why not
Chris, you
both?
were
Yeah,
you
I
were
was gonna
kind of
say.
maybe both. You know, maybe there's a little bit of like there's someone in here who like wants to purposefully do it, and then there's like a group of people who don't really know any better. So it is kind of a little bit
Yeah.
of both.
I'm
I
a
don't know.
firm
I don't know.
believer in the axiom: do not attribute malice to that which you can attribute to stupidity.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm a firm believer that like I don't think there's some like I know that like Chris likes to talk about some grand Marxist conspiracy. I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, Chris. I mean, you're free to say your opinions. I'm not trying to censor you.
Yeah, we were warned of this though, and it all came to fruition, and nobody cares.
I just feel like this is just a bunch of idiots being a bunch of idiots. Could they be egged on by certain people, by agitators? Yes. I don't
look at the end. Look at the end results. Like that's the reason why I push this is because there's another axiom, which is if it happens more than once, it's not a mistake. And this is continually happening. This is a trend. And when you look at people who are like businesses are like economically destroying themselves. Disney is in the toilet. Like this, like if this was a purely like stupid thing, like if this was just stupid people, they'd be like, holy shit, course correction. We got a bunch of dumbasses crashing our products. We got to clean them out and put in other people. The problem though, is they're receiving money from the government. They're receiving money from BlackRock. They're receiving money from all of these other businesses. And it's all involuntary. Like we as taxpayers are forced to pay for this garbage propaganda that nobody watches anymore. I mean, this Marvel thing is case in point. Not only did nobody go and see it, but like even the people aren't even bashing it. Like nobody cares.
You know, it's
Like,
kind of funny.
this is how bad things have gotten. The press is no longer covering for Marvel. The fact that Variety, a mainstream article, I'm doing the Walt hands by now. If you get the joke. The fact that a mainstream article, like sorry, it's just
Max is doing a knife hand.
Okay,
Ooh,
if you don't get okay. By the way, to explain the joke, the reason why they do the Disney pointing is because Walt was a smoker and he'd always have like a cigarette in his hands. So like they photoshopped out all of the cigarettes from the pictures of Walt. So that's why you see Walt pointing. And they covered like, oh, Walt pointed with 2 fingers. No, he just
That's so. I thought because I had a friend who worked as like
I'll
a
be right
manager
back.
at
You
one
guys
of the
talk.
things.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was because they were saying that pointing with one finger is too like aggressive. So if someone asks like, "Hey, where's the Matterhorn?" and you go, "Oh, it's right down that way" or something, it's very
it's microaggressive, Max.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like-
the other thing, it's kind of funny. I'll tell you the story while Nick is doing whatever he does. But so when I reviewed the last episode of Halo, you know what I did as a big F you to the producers? You see that Master Chief helmet I have in the background? I wore that the entire 40-minute review to show it's not hard for him to keep his damn helmet on.
Oh, I love it, man.
It was itchy as hell.
God, yes.
It was really hot, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. The other thing that's interesting, Nick, is that I saw on Twitter. So they did a study. It turns out women didn't even go to see the Marvels.
Exactly. Nobody cares. Like that's the the
Who
opposite
would?
of love isn't hate. It's apathy.
Yeah.
And literally the Barbie movie shows, if you make a movie aimed at girls using a property that girls like, they will show up. Like oh my god. Oh
Most of them probably only showed up for Ryan Gosling as Ken, but who could blame them?
I mean, we all need a little
That's a
energy
good,
in
that's
this.
a good
so.
point.
Well,
yeah.
the other thing is that they give movies to characters that so far have been demonstrated to not be able to hold their own comic books, i.e. Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, to a degree Blue Beetle, or like Peacemaker, or gorgeous kids that fans have historically hated, like Carol Danvers. Why does she get 2 movies?
Well, I think this kind of goes back to like this is all encompassing under this kind of narrative of what I think is that a lot of these producers, directors, screenwriter, whatever you want to attribute it to, maybe even producers, is that they're trying to make things that they think we need to watch instead of things that we want to watch. Because
Bolshevik marketing.
Yeah, so they're saying basically you need to like all 3 of these women. You need to watch this because you are, misogynistic and you are sexist, and so in order for you to learn, to be lectured, you have to like what we're putting out, and it's really condescending to the audience. And I think now normies are picking up on that and saying, why do we have to Jared, I think you and I were talking about the Miss Marvel Carol Danvers with the black and gold. They're like, why couldn't she do that? We would, women want to see that. Miss Marvel, and guys.
I have 2 volumes of the Brian Reed Ms. Marvel series from the early 2000s. It's like the first Marvel Civil War thing. It is night and day, the character, because it's like she is so much of a more tolerable character in that time.
You want to know? Like, this is a marching order for all these people, and the about the club I'm about to play.
Get a ticket and make a name gay.
I mean, like, seriously, the fact that South Park is coming out, and like this is when you know the tide is turning, when South Park makes fun of you.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, though. they have a perfect example of how to do this well, and it's a modern example. The first Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Absolutely.
The first one, not the second one. The first one. I have to be clear.
Yeah.
Patty Jenkins had full control of the script. Like, there's this one moment that's so emblematic of it. The No Man's Land, where he's literally like, "This is No Man's Land. No man can cross it." Literally. And a lesser creator would have her say, "I am no man."
Look at you, Lord of the Rings.
Gave him a look and kept marching onward. They literally they had the line be subtext. That was actually beautiful writing right there. They turned what could have been a cringe moment into actually a good moment.
Because here's the thing. Here's why that one's good. The men were actually important in that movie, because there's no way she would have found that German general without Steve Trevor. As much as, again, I can't stand Steve Trevor, I will admit he was well used there.
And
Not to mention,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Not to mention the fact that the movie does have quite a few scenes showing Diana's more human side.
Yep.
My favorite is when she sees the baby for the first time coming from
where she has ice cream. You should be very proud of
ice cream.
Or also the fact that when they were referencing man, they weren't referencing the penis bearers. They weren't referencing. They were referencing humanity outside of Themyscira. Yeah. Because there was a reference where they said something like, like, why do men force like dresses and stuff or whatever? Some weird thing. And I was like, well, that seems. Oh, she's referring to humanity, not like, I was like, okay, that makes it, because otherwise it would have been just this like femtarded, like feminist thing about look how stupid men are, and it's like, no, it wasn't that. It was like a very cool alien approach where it was like she lived in this secluded area and she was warned that the humans outside, because they're not humans, the Amazons of Themyscira.
Nope, they are not.
Yeah, they're,
according to a rejected idea, they're half Kryptonians. But,
I love how people freaked out about that. Like, it's like
a rejected idea that was never implemented.
And even if Zach had gotten in his way, that idea probably would have never made it to screen anyway.
It would, but compare that to Wonder Woman 2, where every man is a sexual predator, and they make very, very, very obvious allusions to Donald Trump with Maxwell Lord, where he goes, I'm not a loser, he's a loser. And I'm like, okay, now my brain cells have just decreased.
I also noticed that like now women, because like if you guys watch the channel Baggage Claim, I've actually thankfully she's come on to the channel to talk about some of the stuff that she has mentioned in her videos, but she's brilliant. And one of the things that she talks about is how now women are starting to notice this kind of portrayal of men in this like awful, just demeaning, patronizing way. And now women are like, what the hell? We don't want to watch this. We want strong, heroic, courageous, morally righteous men that are going to protect and stand up for women and men and children, and because that's what a masculine hero does, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Here's a dirty little secret that the left refuses to admit: women like good-looking men just as much as men like good-looking women.
Women like
you think
It's true.
you think Aquaman made $1 billion?
Yeah,
Aquaman
he
made
takes
$1
off
billion?
his shirt. And here's the thing: biologically, I'm pretty sure women like warriors. But the other thing is like, so
It's
do you
true.
know? So have you guys ever seen that movie, What Women Want?
With Mel Gibson.
Yes.
Oh my god,
it's
that
where
movie could never be made today.
I'm gonna blow your mind, Nick. So what happened was, so the premise of that movie is that he gets electrocuted in the tub, and all of a sudden he can tell what women think. They did a modernized version of it, except it was a woman. And I kid you not, every man's thoughts were about farts. And I'm
What?
like, no
Oh my
dude
God.
thinks about this. Have you ever been near a man? The answer is no. But
I mean,
yeah.
the whole point of that movie is he gets in women's head. He actually understands them better. He becomes a more empathetic, understanding person.
Well,
Yeah.
have you guys ever heard or seen when I was in marketing class, we got to watch this thing from Frontline called The Merchants of Cool. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
No.
So the reason why men are portrayed as like fat retards essentially is because that is a marketing archetype in commercials designed to attract women. Like there are two archetypes in marketing to attract the different sexes. There's the mook and the midriff. The midriff, which is to attract men, is here's a sexy chick. See this product? Buy this product and you might have the opportunity to have sex with this chick. That's a midriff, and they call it midriff because she's usually got her midriff exposed. She's in a bikini or something, but it's a very attractive woman and they buy the product. I mean, Japan has mastered that with their high women. They literally have women in marketing that just sit there and go, hi. Well, the man explains the product, and that's all part of that marketing archetype. Now, the mook is the female opposite of that, but instead of it being buy this product so that this fat, disgusting male retard can have sex with you, it's see how much, because there's this weird psychological wound in a lot of modern, and I blame feminism for this, where women are given an inferiority complex. They call it hypoagency. And women are in positions where they feel like every guy thinks they're stupid. Every guy doesn't respect them. Every guy speaks over them. Every guy, whatever. So the mook is the intellectually, mentally, and physically inferior male that the female ego can then be propped up to of, see, you can show these dumb men how much better you are if you use this product. And that's, unfortunately, that doesn't work when you're in entertainment. That works for buy a product, your 30-second bite size, bam, there you go. But when you're prolonging that into a procedural series or into an elongated film, that long form entertainment completely makes those archetypes overstay their welcome. And you get this scenario where a guy is like, watch, if the midriff was there the whole time, he's like, Jesus Christ, this is like a porno without the sex. Like, this is stupid. And then
It's like I might as well just. I'm like, honestly, I might as well just save my $10 and pull up the hub.
Exactly. Whereas what we're seeing with the mook now in the long form entertainment is it's like every guy, the Homer Simpson effect, the Al Bundy, like all of these guys are now dumb and whatever. And like, if you ever notice that in these sitcoms throughout like the later 90s, the 2000s or whatever, it's always this dumb fat guy married to a supermodel or a very attractive woman.
And I think initially it probably worked, Chris, because like you look at Ragnarok, and that was like kind of the first beginnings of where we got to see like this God, this Chris Hemsworth at his peak, right? Really starting to be portrayed as a fool and being more of a joke. And then people liked the movie. It brought new, fresh kind of blood into that whole franchise. But then when they kept doing it, people started realizing like, I don't know if I really like this Thor, right? Like, and it creates a cognitive dissonance that we may not be able to explain right away, but after a while, we're like, I know exactly what it is. He was this he was a god, he was a king, and now he's a fat, lazy, ripoff of Big
Yeah.
Lebowski. And
They call him that in the movie.
I think the problem with like Ragnarok and Love and Thunder is Ragnarok, they went a little bit, but they didn't go too far. Because
Sure.
Chris Hemsworth is a naturally funny person.
He
And
is.
he hasn't been able to do that in the movies. And they let him be more naturally funny and charismatic, but he was still a badass. He struggled, but he still did great stuff.
Sure.
And but like Endgame made him a joke, and they continued that joke into Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
And,
I always say
they went too far in Love and Thunder, but I think Ragnarok was still good. Like I actually think Ragnarok is probably one of the best Marvel films, in my opinion.
Oh,
bite
wow.
your tongue. But as someone that read Planet Hulk, no, it's crap. But in terms of
it's a bad Planet Hulk film, I'll give you that.
The best portrayal of Thor was actually in Infinity War, because they put the humor in there, but they also brought in the more like serious parts of Thor. The reason why I think
Thanos!
Yes, exactly. The other thing that I noticed when like Love and Thunder came out was people, because here's what people thought. So the first two Thor movies came out, were criminally underrated, at least in my opinion, and people were like, okay, so can we get a little more fun? So Ragnarok comes out, and it's a good palate cleanser. People thought it was a palate cleanser. Then it comes, then they keep doubling down on it. Then they're like, okay, if this is the new direction for Thor, I don't want this.
Yeah, the joke's not funny anymore. Like you keep telling them.
Honestly, if you go back and like Infinity War is great. I think like the tragedy of Infinity War is great. Like I think the story they did with Thor was great. The problem is Endgame. If you go back and watch it, like what they did to Thor is really fucking sad. Sorry.
Really,
whatever.
Yeah.
Like no, the fact that they make all these insensitive fat jokes, all these like just mental health is something that's really important to me, and the way they treated his like literally Thor was having a panic attack and Rocket slapped him. What the? Sorry. I'm getting worked up.
It's all good,
Well,
Nick.
yeah, we essentially witnessed Thor having PTSD, right? Because that's what a lot of
story in and of itself. That would be a cool Thor movie.
And I would understand if, like, because we see a lot of veterans that have PTSD and they have to struggle through that, and that might be a story worth delving into, but only for a moment. We don't want to see our entire hero, throughout the entire film have this kind of weight like that, because it is something that a lot of people probably don't deal with well in that type of way, maybe. So maybe have him struggle with it a bit, but have him begin to start to build upon that and start to build himself and understand. But yeah, just like, him in that shack, and he's playing video games and he's drinking beer. He was essentially trying. Say again?
Playing Fortnite.
Playing Fortnite and stuff. And it's like,
monster.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But when it's Thor, it's like, we don't want to see that crap.
And it's like the problem I have is not necessarily that like he got sad and fat, whatever. It's the fucking jokes they made.
Sure.
Like they just treated him like a joke. They didn't take it seriously. Like it's supposed to be like if the God of Thunder, how far he's fallen. Like the one bright spot was his talk with his mother. Like that. I really like his mother is like, yes, you're a failure. And I'm sorry. The moment when he called his hammer to him, like I'm still worthy. Like I don't care who you are.
That was great.
That scene fills me with hope.
Of course, that's to set up my favorite Captain America moment where he picks up the hammer and beats the crap out of Thanos. I like that part.
Yeah.
Also, my favorite line is like, "I knew it," which
I knew it.
Yeah. Well, he did. He actually in what was it? Age of Ultron
Avengers
or whatever.
2.
Yeah, he lifts up the. You see him nudge it, and then Thor gets really nervous, and then Steve just kind of like lets it go, and I think he did that to humor Thor. Like,
that would totally be a Cap thing. That would Cap would. That is very definitely a Cap thing to do.
Apparently, I think it was Feige that said, he could have lifted the hammer, but he put it down just to mess with Thor. He was like, "No, I've made my point."
Well, I think it was almost like I didn't want him to steal his thunder. I didn't want to take away his special.
Unintended, but okay.
Yeah, because like. Sadly, though, if you look at like post Endgame, and this goes back again, conspiracy, whatever, but like look at all of the established white male heroes. Okay,
Mhm.
how many of them are not dead, turned evil, or comic relief?
Very rare.
I think they're all
Too
gone.
rare.
All of them are
See,
gone. Steve
the problem
Rogers
is-
was like the paragon.
Star Lord, and they said
Yeah, he's a
Star
joke,
Lord is
though.
returning.
Yeah, and he's a
The
joke. Like
He
like,
was always a joke, though, so it's
Yeah,
not like
that's-
they changed him into a
no,
joke.
no, but that's the point. Is he's allowed to stay because he's a punchline. It's the same
Oh,
thing with
okay, I see that.
with the Wasp. I mean Ant-Man, because we might as well call it the Wasp because she.
Why did
overshadowed
he
him in the movie.
beat? Why did he beat Kang? That's my question there. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, if Kang is this badass, Ant-Man.
I think one of my other favorite parts. Sorry, I wanted to. I don't want to belabor the point anymore. But I also like Endgame is not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination. However, I like when Thor looks over and he's like, I like the big one. He's like
Yeah.
talking about
No,
Stormbreaker.
he's
and
like,
it's what is
yeah.
this? Thing?
No,
Or like,
No.
What happens
You
is
get the
that-
middle one. I take the big one.
that's what it was. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
actually, what happens is that Cap and Thor are fighting back to back. They both call the
Mhm.
hammers, and then they get switched, and then Thor goes, "No, give me that. You have the little one."
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
like honestly, the on your left scene is like probably one of my favorite scenes in all of movies. Like that
In
is
the
just,
portals.
yes, like that is just like the culmination of 10 years of storytelling.
Mhm.
Like it's a really great moment. And yes, like the Captain America using Thor's hammer, like it's just really, really good scene. Like there's really good moments in Endgame, but overall it's
But
a bit of a
it's
letdown.
like, and then speaking of Cap, it's like I remember watching Falcon the Winter Soldier, and I enjoyed the show. There's just one very massive part that, and I've talked to Nick about this. It's the scene where, okay, so apparently the whole theme of the show is everyone forgets that Sam was an Avenger, which I'm like, how could you do that? They
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I know. Oh
but
my god, we're going.
he
here.
knows what I'm talking about. So Sam and Bucky are walking out of this neighborhood. They're in
Oh yeah.
they're in like a black neighborhood, and they're
Yeah.
trying to make the whole police brutality statement.
Oh,
So the way they
God,
do
yeah.
it is the cops show up and start arresting Sam because
Is
he's
this
in, like,
man
an-
bothering you?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you
Which,
could
by
have
the way,
but wait,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you could have still done that scene because you could have had someone else on the street being like harassed by the cops, have Sam intervene. They're like, apologies, Mr. Wilson. But no, in other words, you could have still had that scene. You could have still salvaged that scene, but you did it in the most stupid. A cop would forget that Sam Wilson was an Avenger when they name him Sam Wilson in the news all the way back in Civil
Yep.
War.
Yep.
I mean, not only that, but let's pretend that Sam and Bucky aren't Avengers. They're just normal people. They're arguing in the streets. The cops would not stop for that. The cops would
know.
not, like, even it's a ghetto neighborhood. Like, oh, whatever. You know,
yeah, there
like,
wouldn't be cops there in the first place. It's a ghetto.
Yep.
And
I-
even if they were patrolling, they wouldn't do that because it's not something like even like the most racist cop, wouldn't do that. Like it's not worth their time.
Right. I think two things real quick, Nick, what you're talking about Endgame and having that, on your left moment. Really, I think for a lot of kids of that era was most likely their Lord of the Rings Two Towers moment when Gandalf comes down, and kind of intervenes, or maybe even
Yes.
when Aragorn has the army of the dead, or the
For Frodo.
or Frodo, the Black Gates, like each one of those moments.
Shield shall be shattered. Blood, a
The,
sword
the other
day.
thing about
A
that
rat
scene, if you
day.
notice, is that so the characters that are standing before the on your left moment are the more or less the original Avengers. Everyone else are the people who showed up that the Avengers that either helped or saved at one point, and now they're returning the favor.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I think it was Chris's point when he was talking about, like what heroes do we have at this point? Well, I don't know if it's necessarily, because I think, people might say, oh, well, it's a conspiracy, but I thought about it, but I think Feige has said previously in interviews where he's explicitly stated, yes, I want to make this Marvel thing. I want it to skew more female. I don't
Yep.
want more male heroes.
How's that going for you?
Well,
How's that
what
going
they did
for
is
you?
Remember with what is it, the WandaVision, where they're like, yeah, we're supposed to have Doctor Strange in there, and then instead they put in this other character,
And
they're
Feige
like,
himself said, I didn't want to have like the white man show up and help out or something like that.
yeah, this is again, you can't attribute this to stupidity when it keeps happening. This is an intentional propaganda.
I mean, didn't you know the Force is female?
Yeah, you
Oh,
remember when
God.
she tried to talk her way out of that bullshit? And it was
Speaking
like
of that,
bitch, you ain't fooling anyone.
speaking of
You literally
that,
had T-shirts made that you wore on the red carpet.
Oops.
yeah. Well, speaking
I didn't
of
know.
Star Wars, so remember, one of the redeeming qualities of Disney Star Wars was Mandalorian. We had 2 seasons of good shows, and then
2.5, 1.5.
Yeah.
debatable. The point is, you had a, for the most part, good show. Then they pull a Scott Pilgrim and make season 3 the Bo.
Remember
Katan
how I
show.
complained about that?
Yes,
like,
you
while-
complained about it, and
Yep.
you know, it's kind of funny. At the time, I was like, and then they go, and then they had the stupidest excuse because they were like, well, it's called The Mandalorian. And I'm like, in context, and Nick, you says to my show, when you hear Star Wars, The Mandalorian, you think of Din Djarin. You don't think of Bo freaking Katan. You can't retroactively change
It's double speak. It's stupid double speak that you
Yeah.
know. And Jared, I know that you kind of gave me some pushback for that, and when because
I don't anymore because I see it now.
because we did an episode by episode review of Mandalorian season 3, and I saw this coming, and I still maintain it. Like my initial assessment. Ooh, is that doggo or kiddo?
A kiddo, a little kitty. Yeah.
Can I see kitty?
He is. Let's see if he wants to. Yeah. It's okay, buddy.
Oh, kitty.
But the other thing, Max, do you know what this attitude is? And you and I will know this as comic book fans. When they have like characters share the mantle, like John Kent and Clark Kent being Superman, and I'm like, that doesn't work because if I go down my street right now, or like in the afternoon, so I don't look creepy, and like knock on my neighbor's door and say, I'm just doing a survey. Can you like answer this? Sure. What's Superman's secret identity? They ain't gonna say John Kent.
Miles Morales.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
at least
what I
with
was saying-
Miles in his universe when he was first created, alternate universe where the other Spider-Man died. I'm fine with the original mantle holder being dead if you want to replace them. It's just when you have people share the mantle and be like the Aquaman, the Batman. I'm like, no, that doesn't work. And people bring up, well, the Flash. I hated in the Flash as well.
Yeah, same here.
I
How
mean,
about
at
the
least in the
Wolverine?
Flash, they had the decency to kill off the previous Flash for the new
I
one.
know.
takes over.
Yep.
And then the
But,
comics are like, no, we'll have Wally and Barry because we want to bring back Barry, but we don't want to piss off the Wally fans.
But like
Well-
the thing that I was saying about like the Mandalorian, and so my assessment at the end of season 3 is still the same. If they had called this Bo-Katan, okay, and literally not changed a single thing, I would have no problem with it. I probably would have liked it.
Well-
like literally, they're calling the show The Mandalorian, and it's all about Bo-Katan. If this had been a Bo-Katan show, and like it's just
Yeah,
my thing is-
Because here's the thing. It's not like Mando season 3 was the episodes were like not entertaining except for that one episode where it's just what are these Empire like defectors doing? That was stupid. But at least there were some cool moments in there. It's not like with She-Hulk where the entire show is irredeemable.
Yeah.
You mean episode 3 where it became a totally different show for like a single episode?
Yeah.
Or like remember when this was the part that checked me out of She-Hulk. You ready? And I think you guys are all going to know the scene I'm talking about, where they're meditating, and then She-Hulk is talking about like being catcalled by men and say, I hand to Bruce Banner, who has been hunted by the U.S. Army, Marine Corps, every branch of the military, and seen half his friends get snapped away from existence at this point. She goes, I've handled my stress infinitely better than you have.
I would gladly trade being catcalled and having my ass slapped to having the shit kicked out of me and having no unpaid bodyguards coming to rescue me.
And the worst part is, later on the episode, she walks it back. But like, they still had that moment. They knew what they were doing. They
it was
they
propaganda.
literally, even though like, oh, didn't you know later in the episode she apologized for it? You still put that scene in. You knew that scene was going to get clipped. Come on.
Or it's like in the trailer for Blue Beetle where the last line is Batman's a fascist.
Yep.
Yeah, like,
well, here's my thing about the
Chris,
Star Wars thing before you
Chris, I just want to say this. I know you talk about deliberate sabotage. That's one instance where I'm like, okay, that kind of feels like sabotage. The fact that they put that in at the last part of the trailer, I can't do it.
If you look at the political statements of the director, I'm like, yeah, I see where you're going for. And where he says, oh, we can use Bane as a good example of like colonialism. And I'm like, what part of Bane's origin is colonialism?
He's a jacked out
what?
of his dude.
He's a jacked up dude in prison that escaped from prison and broke Batman's back. You don't have to make him cooler. He's already awesome.
Well, I just want to.
He broke the bat.
Max is gonna say something, guys.
Oh no, you're totally fine. I was just gonna keep the joke running because it's like I feel like people can kind of say that about anything, right? It's like, oh well, Bane represents an oppressive system that rises up against itself to like defeat its oppressor. Yeah, and it's like, oh my god, man! I feel like a lot of these stories, a lot of these, whether it's comics, films, whatnot, there's always some sort of like subtext that people try to pull from, and there are subtext and allegory.
Sometimes the curtains are just blue.
And sometimes there you go. So
something I want to add about like the whole Mandalorian and why it failed. Star Wars is best at when it's ripping off Japanese stories, and the Mandalorian is
Japanese stories or old fashioned serial dramas. Because remember, Star Wars were really supposed to be Flash Gordon, so it's both an homage to Kurosawa and the Saturday serials.
Yeah,
so it's both.
The original Star Wars, not the sequels or anything, but the original Star Wars was a unfinished version of Hidden Fortress that Akira Kurosawa did. And if anybody's ever watched it, you would be like, wow, there's a gay slave and his pet monkey who has a message in a bottle. They escape a ship. Oh, hey, look, it's C-3PO and R2-D2, and it's like, it just goes on from there. And my whole childhood was ruined when I saw that back in 96 when they were paying a tribute to his death. So then when I saw The Mandalorian, I was like, oh, look, it's Lone Wolf and Cub, another Japanese, and when they started veering away and they turned it into freaking Sweet Valley High and they put in all the chicks and shit, it ruined it. And Disney has done this consistently. They have killed the goose that lays the golden egg. They had 3 markets thoroughly dominating. All they had to do was maintain status quo, and they would have stayed at the top of the heap and kept raking in the money. They had the boys market with Marvel, with Star Wars, with Indiana Jones. All they had to do was just make more of that same shit, and they would have been keep raking in money. They had the little girls market cornered. They had the Disney princesses. They had the live action Disney Channel TV shows. Girls love that shit. And then they also had the family friendly, I'm a terrible parent, I'm going to let movies babysit my children market, which is a huge market, where they have all the family friendly cartoons, all those animated films or whatever. And all 3 of those got systemically destroyed.
That was kind of the whole point of Disney Plus was. You wanted a streaming service where you can literally just pop stuff on, leave it alone for 12 hours while you go bang your mistress.
Well, or just not raise your kids because you're either at work or you don't care. But like the thing is when they did that, they started putting in. Well, they started putting in all this weird and like shit that like family safe people don't view as like the rainbow shit and like all sorts of like really weird political messaging that has absolutely no business being in children's films. So they lost that market, sabotaged that one. The girls market with the Disney princesses, we went from brushable hair. Like if you ever watch Clownfish TV with Kiki Sparkles, and she's like, I want my She-Ra figures to have brushable hair.
My Wonder Woman has brushable hair.
Yeah, like that's because girls like that shit, dude. Like they asked girls what they wanted, and girls told them. We do. Yeah, and they're like, no, you want to be counterfeit men. You want to be butch, cocky, toxic males with vaginas. And they're like, no, we don't. So they left. So now girls are less interested in the Disney princesses shit. And now let's go over to the third and final market that they sabotaged, the boys market. Hey, remember Star Wars? Yeah, fuck all those guys. Let's put in a bunch of chicks.
The Force is female. Or remember this.
Wait. Chris, so what you're saying is...
They take it and make a living gay!
Sorry.
Actually, was Chris gave me the perfect setup for that.
Remember where it was like I hope it's a rumor, but remember where it was apparently the plan to replace Batman and Superman with Supergirl and Batgirl as the new Trinity for the movies? And that was so. after they got rid of Zack Snyder for stupid reasons, because these people don't have a creative bone in their body, and they were having issues with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, their idea was, so the Flash, at the end of the Flash, it was going to be the universe Barry goes to, the one that they continue on. There is no Superman. It's just Supergirl and Batgirl and Wonder Woman. Those are the Trinity. And I'm like, that's not gonna work a mile. That is not going.
The zero
Max, let me ask
testosterone.
you, Max, let me ask you, who are the Trinity of DC?
Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Thank you. I ask anyone who that is. Yeah, there you go.
Now I was gonna say, because I know you were saying that you don't like the character of Lois Lane, but I was recently reading Kingdom Come, and I really enjoyed the, kind of relationship between Superman and Wonder Woman, which is
the new 52 series, my friend. The new 52 series.
And we tend to always talk about this, which is so funny. But
because you need to get Max on Super Wonder Legacy.
I have an entire show now, Max, that's just that. But the funny fact that we brought up, guess what? When you think about it, Superman and Wonder Woman being together is the ultimate in actual gender equality. Strongest man, strongest woman, most attractive man, most attractive woman, most capable man, most capable woman together.
And they both respect each other a lot, on the battlefield and off
Max
the battlefield.
and I are buds, by the way. I asked this to him, and I said, this is the condition of our friendship. And he answered properly.
Well, no, we need to play that clip from Mallrats where they're talking about how Lois.
Yes, Mallrats.
Oh yeah.
There's something I wanted to bring up because, I know Max, your time is kind of getting a little bit short. Are you guys familiar with the Lego play study that they did?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. EVS brings this up all the time.
Chris, are you? So they did basically a study about how boys engage with play and how girls engage with play. All right. So essentially, what they did, and I'm paraphrasing, is imagine you have a doll Batman, okay, like a 12-inch Batman doll. All right, you give that doll to a boy. The boy is gonna see themselves as Batman, like they are gonna be Bruce Wayne fighting the crime.
Right.
Okay. You give that same Batman doll, the same exact one, to a girl the same age. What that girl tended to do was she was Batman. So let's say her name is Susie Q. Susie Q is Batman. So this Batman is going shopping. This Batman is going to the horse.
Batman into a girl thing, in other words.
So basically, the girls bended the play to their reality, whereas boys bended themselves to their reality, the reality they wanted to be in. And if you think about that, it really does. If you kind of apply that to how the different genders engage with fiction, and also how these stories are written, if you look at how men write fiction versus how women write fiction. Now, I'm speaking in generalities here. These are all generalities. Sure. I'm not saying all women do this.
Don't be toxic. Don't be a toxic man, Nick.
Yeah.
I can get you canceled on your own show.
Oh, you mean I just canceled you?
YouTube, he's right here.
I'm sorry, Jared's having some connection problems. I don't know what is going on.
I got 3 words for you, Nick.
Man, Jared, I am so sorry, brother.
Oh no.
Well, just to add to your
Scott Pilgrim.
Add to that test. Yeah.
All right. He's muted now, so we don't have to hear him.
There are some other biological implications involved in that, and mainly it's about how have you ever noticed you heard that expression, "This place needs a woman's touch"?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate it.
Do you know why? Because men adapt to an environment, women adapt the environment to them, and that's where the play styles come into play. A woman will make a house a home.
It's that meme where a guy has a lawn chair, a TV, and a game console. It's that's perfect. A guy looks at that and oh my God, I have everything I need. That is perfect. And one would be what are you, poor?
Yeah, like
Well,
this looks
that
terrible.
guy's probably making in like twice what she makes. So
Yeah, but like there's
We're
a
very
reason.
utilitarian.
That is a very
Yeah.
deep rooted, that's in our biology. Like that is like all the progressors will argue, till they're blue in the hair and face. But if you look at it, there's an honesty to it where when you sent men to go out and die to go hunt, they would spend days sleeping in mud or hiding in brush or whatever. Well, when they came back from the hunt with the food, if they didn't have a home to come to, then that's a biological dead end. Like they needed the women to basically be like, look, we're going to build we're going to have the castle and make sure that this is like your kids are still alive when you come back. You're furnishing, like you're in a comfortable split place and you're going to want to stay here. The men aren't as programmed to think about that. Men are about, object oriented things where they're like, I'm going out to do something, whatever I have to do to go and get it, I'll endure whatever. Whereas women are like, what can I do to make this a better experience?
And I will
yeah,
say,
and it's like, and that's kind of the dirty little secret that like so many people refuse to acknowledge. Men are the better sex. Women are the better sex.
Exactly.
You know what's the better sex? When we work together.
Yeah, you can't pitch the sexes against each other because even though people talk about equality, we aren't equal. Like we have our own strengths and weaknesses. You cannot make it like the strongest woman in the world versus the strongest guy in the world. She'll get her ass kicked. But at the same time,
how many times have we seen like Serena Williams? She'll say right off like, yeah, I might be the greatest woman in tennis, but like I think they had like the 200th ranked male in tennis go against her on a practice set. He demolished her.
Yep.
Or like the U.S. women's soccer team went up against a bunch of high schoolers,
that was
males,
sad.
and they got destroyed.
and I will say that, yeah, there are like a lot of these qualities that I see from the strong women in my life. They have the qualities that I'm maybe lacking in. So like,
exactly.
Maybe I am not as nurturing, or maybe I'm not as patient or understanding or empathetic, observant, like all of these really, really beautiful, well-defined qualities. And Nyx, I mean, I don't know if you tend to feel this way as well, but like, that's where I see a lot of the great qualities of women that come out, where I go like, man, I don't have any of those, and I would love to be, like more of that. But that's why, like you guys were saying, we complement each other, because where men may be physically strong, we're not very strong in other ways. But yeah, do you like, Nyx, do you feel like this kind of like making the female character into men, like, because female characters now just have masculine traits, right? They tend to be more stoic and physically like, brutish. Does it feel patronizing to you, or do you just be like, I don't really care? Like, how does it resonate?
So I think you hit the nail kind of on the head
Yeah.
there. Like, I mean, I'm all for, the occasional stoic, more masculine woman. I think, occasionally.
He makes a good point, Dave.
He does. Dave does make a good point.
But like, I don't know. Like,
not like all the characters, right?
Exactly. I feel like when you get rid of all of the best parts of femininity out of women, you're just getting like a really bitchy man.
Yeah, and
I like that. That's funny.
And the thing is, it's like feminists complain about the men with boobs trope. Like Anita Sarkeesian did like whole videos about how bad, but like that's all we see nowadays is men with boobs. Like it's like they make the men women and like the women men, and it just doesn't work. They're like the worst versions of each, and it's like
I'll give you a good example of different people using things that make them different to achieve a better goal and like be a better unit, pun intended. Max, in the Marine Corps, isn't like a bunch of people that have all these different skill sets coming together for like a common goal?
That is mostly what you see. Like, mission success happens when you have each one of us performing our specific tasks. And the other thing is that the women are held to the same standards that men are, and when they're not, not necessarily physically, right, but in their own job specification, the women are held to the same standards that the men are. Uniform regulations, haircut standards, stuff like this, strength, agility, speed, quickness, all that stuff. When we look at like the different sexes, like they're still held to a very high standard, because if they're not, then that's where we see the mission start to fail. So,
Well,
but
the
yeah.
other thing is like a fun fact for those that don't know. I read somewhere that MARSOC, which is Marine Corps Special Operations, you can join that from any job in the Marine Corps. Like you could be an aircraft mechanic and become a MARSOC operator, because the idea is, hey, if you have any like skill set that could possibly help us on a mission, you're in. Obviously, if you pass the training, but there you go. The military is actually a good example of that.
Yeah, well, role-playing games, like all the classes, like a whole class, or like a whole party full of warriors is going to get their asses steamrolled when they got like, no wizards or healers or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the wheel of time. They never like so glad. Wish they'd make a mini series about it, but they haven't. So, but in the books, there's a male half of the one power, Sidene, and the female half, Sidar, and the books say repeatedly, the greatest acts of the one power were always done with men and women working together. Like it's very because yes, gender dynamics is a core part of the Wheel Time series, but I feel like it's a very honest portrayal of it, and the fact that like that is like in the lore, that like the greatest acts of power come from men and women working together, says a lot about not only the author's views, but in my opinion, gender dynamics as a whole. Women are awesome, men are awesome. You know what's even more awesome? Men and women together.
Yep.
I find it very funny though that Anita Sarkeesian is complains about the men with boobs thing, because she's
she
kind of the
pushed that.
one. She's the one who pushed it, exactly. She's the whole reason. Like, well, not the whole reason, but she's a pretty big part of the reason we have that now.
So, we do have two people that need to go. Honestly, let's just kind of just cap it off here, guys, because like we got two of our stars. MVP's got to go, and Chris has got to go. So I think let's just kind of end it here, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Let's just kind of get our last words in. We'll be going from the bottom up. So just kind of like say your last words, where people can find you. Nix.
I'm on Twitter at Bunny Girl Nick.
If you want good JoJo smut, follow her.
and if you want her to have to positively review Avengers 200, please follow her on Twitter.
You have to donate to me for that. Oh wait, no, I don't even have the donation thing up. Just follow me then.
So, I'm gonna unfollow you, then follow you to make you do it. All right, so Jared, tell us how good is Super Wonder?
Oh, it's the best ship. But anyway, so you can find me at Comics League, where I have Nick. And by the way, Max, we got to have you back on again, brother, to talk Kingdom Come and Superman and Wonder Woman, because you are. You have demonstrated to me that you are a logical thinker. So there you go. So in terms of like my content, I got like a lot of stuff coming up. Chief among it. In December is going to be the month of Snyder, because Rebel Moon comes out. So we're going to be covering all the Zack Snyder movies we haven't covered yet. So that's going to be freaking dope. Nice, and in terms of the Super Wonder show, Britt and I are going to be analyzing the new DC documentary to show that nostalgia is not necessarily the right thing for DC to be clinging to.
Yeah.
So
Max. So Max, tell us all about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You guys can find me at MVP or Maxfield Von Priestley. It's just my full name. I do comics and Warhammer, but that's mainly what the channel has been based off of. But yeah, no, it's a pleasure to come back on here, and I'm sorry that it always takes us a few months in between times that I'm able to see you guys, but it's always great catching up. So. Yeah, of course, man. So I always try and keep up on Twitter and YouTube, and like whenever I see an interesting post or a video or something, I'll scroll through and send you guys a like, because honestly, I prefer some of these smaller channels than a lot of like these million subscriber channels, and it's like you guys are just shilling
Or the
for
chat
something
just-
that's awful.
Yeah, I know, and
Like,
I'm like, okay, you're waiting until. Please invite me to another premiere, Marvel, please.
right.
and or it's like
Media.
the thing about like those bigger channels is the chat just scrolling like a mile a minute, and it's like I actually like being smaller where it's like I see the names pop up, you know, like Mercenary, Keely, Tevya. You know, like I see the names
when I had
pop up.
Comics Explained on my channel, the chat was going a mile a minute,
my
and I was
gosh,
like, oh my gosh, how do I get everyone? And eventually, I was just like, I can't. I'm just gonna go. Whoever sends me a super chat gets my attention at this point because there's like so many flying.
Yeah.
Jared, you better get used to it because that's gonna be you one day, brother.
Yeah.
So Chris,
Except I won't be the shill.
Yeah.
no, you will be the hype. But anyways, Chris, tell us what you got going on.
Yeah, speaking of shills, man. So I cheated when I wrote my Infinitale Chronicles comics. You can check it out at infinitaleChronicles.com. Like I cheated. I used a tabletop RPG game sessions and chronicled them, and I had actual female players play these characters. So it's not some guy writing a chick or some like weird agenda where it's like I'm gonna make a man with boobs or you know what I mean. Like there's actual characters being portrayed by people of the applicable sexes and their own motivations. So yeah, I dude, yeah, the whole like sexist thing that we're talking about with the counterfeit men and the like all that stuff, like it honestly has driven me away from all modern media, or at least modern entertainment media. And you got to check out the indie stuff because, dude, there is some really good stuff in there. I mean, we got Screecher from Nick. We got Infinitale Chronicles from me. You know, there's plenty of other books coming out across, the entire spectrum. Like, we got Iron Age. We got Comicsgate. We've got people who hate Comicsgate that are making indie books as well. Like, there's a whole spectrum. And there's some good stuff in there. And it's, it would be a shame if it gets overlooked because it's not. Yeah, hell yeah. You got Eric July's ISOM. Like, check that stuff out, man, because the mainstream, every time you pay your subscription to Netflix, you're getting Scott Pilgrim was yeeted, or whatever the hell it's called, like.
See, this is why, like, every time we talk about how modern mainstream is being destroyed, I don't care.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, more for me.
Exactly, because we are the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter. Like, it's just like, it's like, okay, let it burn. Let it burn. I don't care about it anymore. The war doesn't bother me anyway. Like, I am literally the Phoenix Press. I rise from the ashes. Doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, everything else gets destroyed. We will be there to take the place. Batman's gone. Screecher is the new Batman. All right?
Or Athena's the new Wonder Woman. Just want to...
Exactly.
I'm just doing the Dungeons and Dragons stuff where I don't care.
Dungeons and Dragons is gone. Infantile is there to take its place.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing. Just because all this stuff gets burnt down doesn't mean the passion. Doesn't mean the people are gonna want stuff like this anyway.
Back issues, baby. Most of my stuff behind me is back issues.
Like the people that love video games, the people that love comics, that's not going away. Young people love comics, but they're going to manga because it's letting them down. So the love is still there. The passion is still there. We just need to fill the void. That is our job, is to do what they can't.
Amen.
I didn't mean for that to be an epic speech. It just kind of happened.
No, that was great. That's how you end it. That's how you end a stream right there.
So thank you everyone for joining me. Max, you're awesome. Jared, I hate you. This is
Fuck off, Rod.